the uh, past data was telling us that we are doing good and we might be doing better, and then suddenly bam, like things just changed for us. Bad things, yeah, I started with I was a DD fail at that time. Like I failed in a DD test, but I improved a lot after that, and I've been living in US for 6 years. You can say that, yeah, I'm surviving. I didn't do well in sports in my first year. I was a NCC cadet, but by the time I graduated, I was a very good TT player. Uh, Sorry, not badminton, volleyball player. I didn't cut the cutoff for the team, but I always won for like hostel level teams. So yeah, I can consider myself a good player. And yeah, I'm still in gymming and bodybuilding. So I was actually in bodybuilding team for a while. So you can call me a sportsman as well. By the time I graduated, and the good part, yeah, I started, as I said, like with a 5 pointer. I never failed any course, but I was just very poor at not going to classes and just being in my own zone. And by the time I realized, it was a bit too late. Not too late, like I missed out on a few things, like that, being a dance club coordinator or whatnot. But luckily I was in a 5-year course, so I had like some more time to cover up my shit. And I studied. I got an academic excellence award. That was like a very good moral booster for rest of my career journey, that yeah, I can make it happen. Even if I'm a 5 pointer, the very next year I can score a 10 pointer in consecutive 2 semesters. So I can be a academic excellence award winner. Yeah, and then I improved my English a lot, because I realized that communication is the key to go forward in this world. And English, with all said and done, it is something essential that we should learn. So, and I still am lucky to have such an amazing network of college friends. A lot of things I do, I'm still very close to a lot of them. We have like WhatsApp chat group with our Y4 batch, and a lot of people are there. They're doing great in their own fields, and it's such a pleasure and such a privilege to be connected to such folks. And I'm sure, like you guys will have your own circles, and you'll achieve great things. I mean, last year, not last year, like a few months back, with because of the COVID thingy, we started like on that group only. We started chatting, and we thought, okay, let's do something. And some of us were sitting in Singapore, Australia, and whatnot. And yeah, within a few days, we were able to like transport like 2,000 cylinders and whatnot. So I mean, yeah, the group can really achieve great things. And I'm hoping that we'll still go through a lot. I do have a side business, real estate business in India, and there also I get a lot of help from all my IIS friends. So yeah, this network is lifelong, very personal, and I can always rely on this network of my friends. And awesome things, I still remember my foreign internship that I got just because of I had an IIT tag, and I was the only one who could muster the courage to ask a girl senior to pass on her internship, because there was no girl in my civil engineering batch, and there was a girl in senior batch who went to internship. Generally, people talk to their senior and get their internship lead. No one reached out to her, so I did, and I got it. I went to Europe a couple of months. It was a life-changing experience. I realized like, okay, I'm really slacking. I have to plug up, and that was the time when in the coming semesters I scored 10 pointers. So yeah, that was good. And yeah, I once danced with KK. KK is a singer. I don't know. Hopefully, he's still singing. I don't know. But I'm in my head. I'm still stuck in 90s or like early 2000. I still listen to his old songs. But once I was part of the professional night management, and he was singing on the stage, and I was standing on the side. And being a good dancer, I think it was a song "Das Bahane Karke Le Gaye Dil" or something like that. And I started humping and dancing, and then he just called me on the stage like, "Oh, dance here." And then I and a couple of my dance club juniors went there, and like we danced together, so it was fun. And yeah, with that, let me get out from my nostalgia and come back to real life. And let me start with directly cut into why we are here. So why data, how data helps, and what are we going to talk about today, right? So sorry, any question, any thought, anyone? Or no, I'll move on otherwise. Cool. I'll move on. So first, how data helps? I mean, I don't have to tell enough. It's like a common knowledge, bread and butter, that we are living in the age of data, and data is the bedrock of decision making. Things have changed a lot from last 10 years. My understanding when I was in college was very rudimentary, but that was not me. It was just, overall understanding of the industry was very rudimentary. So if you are at the level of my understanding when I was in college, you are lagging behind because the world has moved on and you have to catch up. So basically, I'm trying to say is that data is like essential to anything and everything in this world, whether it's any kind of function you run as a whether you're going to be an entrepreneur tomorrow or you're going to work for a big company, startup, whatnot. Everywhere data is in demand. My personal sense and sense of security is that um, this field in general, and data science and a lot of related fields are going to be in demand at least for next, I mean, I don't know much, but at least 10 years. And I'm very confident that, okay, I'm always going to have a, decent job and a very safe job for next 10 years. There's so many options in the industry if you have the right skills. And data is field is still booming. And yeah, from my own experiences, I have served various domains across different companies: marketing, product, risk management. And as I said, I've written here, in marketing, data actually determines who to target and how to target, like which channel is going to give you best ROI and whatnot. In product, data determines what features users like. Like, for example, you log on to Facebook or Instagram, like, what kind of content you want to see. So that's all the product. In risk management, data actually determines who to lend money and how much. So it's a lot of, it's closer to my heart, risk management, because I did it for long, and I have been into fintech and finance world. So yeah, the basic crux of that business is to lend money, and then you want to assess the credibility or credit worthiness. That's where data is the bedrock. So yeah, if at all anyone has still any concern that, is it going to be surviving field, or is it like after 5 years everything is going to be automated? So I don't know, we'll still have jobs. I think you are not thinking in the right direction. Data is the key right now. So yeah, I mean, don't have to think twice. It's an amazing field to be in. I'm so happy that I chose slash got lucky to get into this field. I'll talk about it later. But yeah, I'm happy where I am. And just about me, sorry, maybe I skipped a page. Yeah, my career journey so far. I probably skipped this one. So let me take a step back and talk about a bit more about how I spent my 12 years in data science. So when I graduated back in 2009, peak of recession, I did actually, had a plan, and data as a field, or analytics or data science as a field, was not that developed. I would still say that in IITs, the information was much better as compared to other colleges. So still we were exposed to much better level of information. We knew how valuable it is. However, having said that, most of the data companies were not paying as much as maybe oil companies or high-end consulting or finance. So of course, back in the college, if I think about myself, like I used to rank order everything just purely based on money. Like, okay, this company is paying the highest, then probably this must be the best company. And I guess money loosely is a good factor in determining which place is the best, but not an entire, like not a complete factor. I mean, hopefully you guys realize that. If not, you will realize sooner or later. So I don't have to overemphasize. Money is important, but not everything. So, anyways, I actually was targeting, given my profile, like, even after like a 10 pointer in a year or two, but previous 5 pointers, I still was, hovering around seven. In fact, I didn't even reach seven. It was like 6.95. So, whatever. So, I couldn't actually meet the cutoff of a lot of companies I was hoping to get into. I had a lot of good contacts. I prepared well. I had a good network. I was very hopeful that I'll get into Schlumberger or Transocean or something of that kind of a job, a very high paying oil job, because I had built my profile accordingly, like coordinating a few like what is it called, Josh, like it used to be like a intra hostel sports competition and whatnot. And then I was a core team member for like overall sports coordination and whatnot. So, but again, that year, Schlumberger hired no one, Transocean hired no one. So I mean, things like were bad. Uh, I didn't get selected for any interview for first 5 days, I guess, of the placement, because A, of the CPI, B, even like there was some discrimination by the department. Like I think HSBC said like, oh, we don't have enough question paper. So you know what? Let's get out chemical and chemical, civil, and metallurgy. Please get out. We don't have enough question paper. And I remember my placement coordinator, my good friend, and he was like almost crying, like, guys, what are you doing? We'll print more question paper in 5 minutes. Like, no, it's fine. We just anyways have to have like 2 or 3 folks, so it's enough. Anyways, but I was very confident that the day I'll get at least selected based on my resume, I'll crack it, and I did. I cracked 2 interviews in one day. I think it was fifth day. The first day I got actually shortlisted for any company. It was Deloitte and MarketRx. I got both the offers. Uh, I was sleeping like a horse when I came back, and then my friend called, like the placement coordinator, who was my wingmate also, like, dude, you got 2 offers. Please leave Deloitte because MarketRx, because Deloitte is having a wait list, so I can at least get one more person another job. But if you choose Deloitte, I'll not be able to get. And then not just that. I mean, MarketRx was actually paying 50,000 extra, so that was, I'm like, yeah, fine. And it was in Gurgaon, so low cost of living than Mumbai. So I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. Let me choose MarketRx. And third thing, I didn't even had good knowledge about data science at that time, but I knew that I'm good at stats. I aced an A in the last semester. I liked it, really liked maths and stats. And I knew like MarketRx, I'm gonna work in that direction versus Deloitte, where I'm gonna be. I don't know what, I still don't know what these people do. So I'm like, okay, it makes more sense. I'll go for MarketRx. Every trick was, like, okay. So I went into MarketRx, or it was acquired later by Cognizant, and it was called like Cognizant EAP. I stayed there 1.5 years. Good place. A lot of IIT friends. I stayed there 1.5 years, but the culture went down because it was acquired by Cognizant. So it got diluted. Eventually, I left. Um, and a few things happened. Like, generally people leave the company because they don't like their manager. Generally, I mean, people leave for different reasons. I left Cognizant because of primarily because I didn't like the new manager that I got reorged into. And then I moved to Amex. It was a good job. They offered me 40% hike. I mean, it was good. Finally, the recession was, the hangover of recession was getting over. The market was getting better. I got a better offer. And I had a very good run at Amex for almost 9 years. And I consistently got promoted from analyst to assistant manager to manager. Then I moved to US 5 years back, and then manager to senior manager to director. I'm sure I would have stayed. I would have become a VP. So I mean, I had a good run there, consistent, good growth. I wouldn't call it exceptional growth, but yeah, I would say among the good performers or among the top performers, and a variety of roles across risk management, marketing, and product. Sometimes I took chances in terms of what role I want to get into, even if it's coming at the expense of a delayed promotion, because I knew like in longer term it would be better. And because of the consistent promotion, I was still getting paid decently, handsome enough. Generally, Amex pays good, but it's not a paymaster in the market. But yeah, if you consistently get promoted at any company, you'll at the end of the day be at the same par. And Amex definitely offered much better work-life balance and whatnot. And I had enough time to follow my personal passions like dancing or a lot of things I do on the side. Then finally, again in August 20 last year, at the start of COVID, some reorg happened. Again, I got into one of the person or my skip leader. I didn't get along with them. I mean, again, it was a matter of person, trying to take benefit of you or whatever. So I again left. Like, okay, it's good enough for me. It's 9.5 years journey. I couldn't complete 10 years. And yeah, partly I also felt like, okay, it's been 9.5 years. I should leave. I should do something else with my life. So I went to Vista Credit. There they offered me. Technically, the title was like data science manager, but it was like it was a small company, maybe just 200 million valuation or something. I was directly working with the CEO. He's great lad. Like, he started his company when he was in his mid 30s, 10 years, 12 years back. And he was a great chap. He is in that entrepreneurial circle for like 10, 12 years, and he knows every one of your India's top 40 under 40 or 30 under 30 or every entrepreneur by hand or by call. So he was one of those people. I almost shadowed him for like 4 months, 5 months. We connected very well because I guess in his leadership team, like, I was leading the data department, but then he had like a marketing department, risk management department, and sales department. Given my risk experience, I was kind of overshadowing risk department as well. And that's where I mean, yeah, he was kind of telling me like, I'll promote you, I'll make you. I was almost a CXO, but not on paper. So he said like, I'll make you a CXO and combine the two departments and whatnot. But before that could materialize, I left. Uh, Sorry, I'll move. I'll move quickly. I can understand people are getting bored. So, uh, yeah, things moved on. There is a bit of a noise, but I guess I can bear with it. Maybe people may want to keep it mute. Anyways, yeah. And then last year, November, finally Facebook happened. I wasn't ready to. First time the recruiter called me, I thought it's a spam call because I'm a finance professional. Why would I go to Facebook even if they're paying good? I mean, I would have rather expected a call from Goldman Sachs or some kind of investment bank, BlackRock or something like that, not Facebook. But they called me consistently. They saw something in my profile, and I'm like, okay, fine, let's talk. Initially, I wasn't ready. I was playing tennis with one of my college friends from dance club who happens to be a software engineer at Facebook in New York. Uh, so he convinced me like it's a good company. It's gonna pay you well, and yeah, it's really revered in the market. So you should try it out. I tried it out. I went through. They did pay me well. So I mean, yeah, at my level of experience, I think they did a good job in terms of rewarding me uh, correctly. So that's good thing about big tech companies. They have big pockets. They can actually give you. So you don't have to worry about money. That's like out of the equation now. Now the question is more about what do you want to really pursue? What do you want to really drive? So that's good. I chose a team which was close to my heart. I've done money business for like last 10 years. I wanted to do something different. I am in Instagram. I am the data scientist for youth safety. What it means is that on Instagram, a lot of bad things happen, ranging from terrorism to like a lot of kind of bad things, networking of pedophiles and whatnot. So I'm into that space. I'm trying to use the data to in simple words, try to catch pedophiles and save our children. So yeah, I mean, I can say maybe it's a bit of a stretch, but I do say sometimes like I'm trying to save the world. So in my own ways. Anyways, so that's it, and I'm getting paid for it, and very handsomely. So I'm very happy. I'm not even, I believe that I'm kind of working something for a, social good, and at the same time, I'm getting paid for handsomely for it. So it's a win-win for me. I'm really loving it. Cool. Starting with, I think I covered this how data helps. I don't have to reiterate. What industry wants, or like what are the type of profiles are available in the industry. And as I said, like I have been to different companies. It started with MarketRx. It's a consulting company. Then I went to Amex, different divisions, marketing, product, risk management, and then Biz to Credit, where I was the overall lead for the data division with like 10-20 member team. And then Facebook happened. Different profiles. Right now I've classified based on how Facebook classifies it, because I like their classification. That's why I've included it. But in the market, you would see different kind of titles, responsibilities, and nature of jobs, and it depends widely across industry and company. So it's really hard to pin a clean definition what is data science. But yeah, broadly, I can still classify in data engineer and data scientist. That's how at least Biz to Credit, Amex, and Facebook used to define them. Um, so I would say data engineers, again, it is higher proportion of engineering skills, computer science skills rather, where you are using, whatever, like slightly higher in coding skills to create data lakes, pipelines, other data infra, and making sure that your ML models are running faster, like whatever the technical setup is required behind that. That side, I mean, I have closely worked with a lot of data engineers, and at times in my roles, I have served as a data engineer myself. But I would still say I'm more towards into the second category, data scientist, which is the brain behind the data. Like, okay, now that we have the data, how do we actually use it to experiment, measure, analyze? So the way I define data scientist is a truth teller. Like you could say anything, like you could say, oh, sun rises in the east, but the data scientist is going to tell you, like, does it really rise in the east, or is it like, it's always there, it's going to just revolve on its own, and like it's your perception. So the point is, like, in any business team, engineer may be there to kind of make sure that engineer is going to do the how thing, like how it's done, but data scientist is going to tell like what to do and why to do. So that's how it is, and it's a golden time to be in the industry. I'm not here officially representing Facebook or any of my previous companies, but I can tell you they are looking for the right talent and they can pay anything to get the right talent. Salaries increasingly in data science field are at par with software engineers or high-end consulting or high-end finance professionals. So it's not at all like 10 years back when it was probably a fourth, third or fourth in the payment ranges. Right now, depending on the right company, you could get paid even more than a Wall Street banker and still have a much better work-life balance. So yeah, that's the promising part. uh, just to deep dive a bit, I actually deep dive a bit more better in terms of what different profiles are there in data science. I know it's very high level and vague classification because there's so many things around data you could do. Starting from at least at the initial level, if I remember, first couple of years I was just building dashboards. But world has moved on. Maybe high level skills like being good with Excel or Tableau might have helped me at that time. But those skills are like minor skills you'll learn. I'll talk about it later. But yeah, broadly, you can figure out like, are you much better at engineering side of things? So maybe you can go into that mode a bit more. Or if you're more into science kind of a thing, like, how do I use this data to drive a business decision? And that also ranges a lot from general strategic thinking to, going towards high-end ML engineering and, building like very, very high-end machine learning models. There's a lot of value across the board. At Facebook, I would say maybe machine learning engineers get slightly higher salary. In my previous world, like Best to Credit in Amex, I have been an ML side as well. I've built a lot of fancy models. Here, I have actually deliberately chosen a role, was given a choice, which is slightly a bit more generic, not so much into high-end modeling, but more into framing the problem because we're still in the early stage of understanding the problem of youth safety in Instagram. So again, depending on your preference, you can focus on a different area. But yeah, the key is just get into the field. Any company, good company where you can learn, join it. Don't worry about too much about if they are not even paying you handsomely. Sooner or later, you will get what you deserve. So yeah, good companies are always in the search, and yeah, that's it. So what skills one should focus on? Cut the crap. Don't try to confuse yourself. Don't try to learn everything. You can't. It's not possible. Right? We are in the age of information. It's too much of information. Uh, Simple thing: SQL and Python. Don't go beyond that. I know people do R and whatnot, and they might get a job. That's fine. All the best. But if you ask me, SQL and Python. SQL is like bread and butter. You have to learn it. Even if you think that Python is cool and that's what is being used, learn SQL. People like me who are not fossil fuels in the industry, but still like, in the zone are still SQL experts. And a lot of things you would realize can be solved easily, from just, getting a quick SQL code and getting the numbers and passing on to your partners, marketing or, product managers, and they can take very, very impactful decisions or passing on to your CEO. And then he can make actually a big $100 million investment call just based on a SQL number. So don't underestimate power of SQL. And Python is something everyone I've hired in last few years from Columbia and a lot of business schools. Even then, I have asked like Python questions because I think it's a combination of two factors. Python is actually now becoming like bread and butter for a lot of people in school. So if you're still thinking to decide which language to ace, yeah, choose these two. Start with SQL and move on to Python. Both are required. Um, and yeah, that's period. I guess SAS is dead, and I don't know what to talk about. A lot of people are afraid of coding when they come to data science, and their first question is like, "Oh, is it like too much of coding? I'm not that great at coding." I mean, guys, I'm a civil engineer. I'm not a great coder as well. But I guess most of you might have your Java course in first year, so must have at least broad level concept how algorithm works or coding works or a database works, and it's not complex. And in fact, I started loving it. Even in my first job, when I started first, learning things, I loved it. I'm like, oh, that's cool. It's not tough. SQL has like, I don't know, 10 or 15 functions at the most. You can just like, you can just learn them in a week or two, and then that's it. You can still like, it will serve you for next 10 years. But if you like are afraid of coding low, I don't want to write SQL code. I'm a grad from IIT or it doesn't really happen with IIT grads. It mostly happens with a lot of IIM grades I used to hire back in the days, or like MBA folks. They used to be like, oh, they used to throw this weight like, oh, Rajal, I've done MBA, I've not done MBA for coding, and then I used to take them out for a coffee chat and then convince them like, okay, if you want to survive, thrive in this field, you have to. And then more often than not, I was able to convince them. People who didn't get convinced either left the field or actually, I eventually left the field because they couldn't survive without basic coding skills. Some people do. Some people do kind of cut through the crap for first 2-3 years and then try to become a manager or something like that, so that they can survive with their leadership skills and not coding skills. I don't think that's a good path. Uh, that's a catchy path. A lot of companies still have those project managerial roles, but increasingly companies like Facebook, Visto Credit, even Amex nowadays is becoming where even at a senior level, even when you have like 10 years of experience, you have to pass a coding interview round. You have to know basic coding, and it's not like even if you're a very senior level, uh, at times you may be asked, given the situation, that let's say you just got promoted to lead a division, but there is no one in the division. You have to hire like 50 people, but till the time anyone is on board, you have to drive some work. You have to code and actually get it done. So you can't say that, oh sorry, you know what, until I hire for next 6 months I can't do it. People do that, and no wonder their career suffers. So don't be that guy. uh, Learn, embrace coding. It's not very hardcore coding like software engineering, but it's easy coding, data oriented, and very logical coding. And communication, I spoke a lot about coding. Communication is probably 100 times more important. I learned the hard way. I've worked on it a lot, and I'm continuously working on it. uh, Coherent, concise, that's my bad area as well, but to the point, you know and just write and write. That's how you improve your written communication. Speak and speak, and listen. That's how you improve your verbal communication. Don't try to use fancy vocab, no one would understand. At the end of the day, you have to be a team player. You have to make sure that the language you're using, your team understand. And your team would not be filled of data scientists. It's going to be filled of marketing professionals, sales professional, risk managers, underwriters. You never know which company you go into and what kind of people you're talking to. So you are the data steward, not others. So you have to explain it in their language. I was once told by one of the ex bosses. He was also, by the way, IIT Kanpur graduate, Y1, I think, yeah, 3 years senior to me. He was my boss for some time in Amex, and he once told me, like, Rajal, anyone in the team, if they tell us, like, he was the VP, I was the director, and we had, like, there were 2-3 levels below me. But he once told me, like, anyone in the team comes back and tell that, oh, I showed this number to the marketing partners, and then they said, like, oh, we don't follow, and they are so their knowledge of data is so poor. What do I do? He said, like, anyone says that, let's fire them, because that's not marketing professionals job. It's our job to explain the data to them. And that kind of helped me pivot, like, yeah, like how my boss thing. And that's how broadly I also think, like, it's our job as a data scientist to communicate what data tells, not other people's job to understand. It's not like, oh, I send you the data, you figure out. That's not their job. You have to tell them. So be opinionated, understand your number, be opinionated, form an opinion, and be influenced. Like, this is what the other person should be doing. And that's what people expect from a data scientist, that, you should come up with a suggestion, not like, oh, here is a bunch of data, do something with it. Not like that. So, and yeah, use charts as much as possible. I mean, again, probably a later advice once you're mid into the career. But yeah, and last thing, not the but not the least, ask questions. I was one of the guys who never asked so many questions in early stage of my career. A, probably I was a bit shy. B, I always thought, like, okay, everything has been already asked, so why do I ask anymore? But it helps you two ways. If you even ask, like, very obvious questions, sometimes people may tag you as a DCP, like, but still good to ask any doubt you have. Because it will help you realize that there are the question was there for everyone, and you felt like, oh, maybe I'm the best in the room, I don't know the answer of this question. Once you voice it over, you'll realize that you are still the smartest among the room. So go with that. Go ask that question, and you'll realize no one knew the answer, and everyone will look at it and like, oh wow, this guy at least had the guts to ask it. So yeah, this will happen. uh, and recruitment process, very briefly, different companies have different processes. I expect you guys are like IIT grads. I expect you to be, very well prepared. What company is coming to placement? Which company you're applying for? What is their process? You should be in and out of like about everything. I don't expect anything less from you guys. You should be aware what is their process. What exactly are they looking for? What are their skills? You can talk to the seniors in those companies. Use that network. Figure out like what are the basic skills they require. I mean, I still help a lot of my colleagues, and like I recently helped a couple of colleagues to get roles into Facebook at my level only. But I guided through them because I went through the process last year. So I was able to understand like what exact things Facebook is looking for, and I gathered my own knowledge from a couple of more similar people, right? Like like do this thing. Facebook has this kind of a culture, so they might be looking for these kind of keywords or this kind of thought process. So minor things here and there you can understand from the culture, from the seniors, like okay, what kind of keywords you may have to use in your interviews, which can really leave an impression. um, so yeah, but at the same time, almost every company is conducting a coding round. I actually had to build a text mining NLP model to get into biz to credit to lead the data division. I was in a leadership role in Amex. I didn't code for a couple of years, but yeah, I was still able to work over the weekend and learn again from scratch, remember everything back, and then build the model. So yeah, I spent 2 full days doing nothing but just to learn, relearn Python and rebuild that whatever the whole model. But it paid me handsomely. I got the offer, which was 20-30% higher. I mean, who doesn't like money? Like, so that was good. Then case studies, yeah. Companies like Facebook, they ask a lots of case studies beyond the one coding round, just to check, make sure that you know the coding and you're not afraid of it. Case studies. I mean, I don't want to emphasize it more that framework and structure is much better than a fancy algo. Don't try to force feed an algo. Of course, it depends. Like sometimes if you are interviewing for such a very specific role, uh, where you kind of interviewing for a very ML model or LSTM or whatever fancy method you want to use, but in most other roles, you'll actually have to structured thought process more. That is gonna actually give you differentiate you better from the crowd. And yeah, I mean, other things for placement like puzzles, GD, etc. You should just I'm sure you guys have the best resources available, so just use them. I saw a bunch of raised hands in chats. Do you want me to kind of take a pause and like take a few questions before you go?
Yes, so we can do that.
Sure. Okay. uh, I I saw some questions. uh, uh, Okay. Good evening. I'm sorry to disturb, but I can't help but ask you for a referred FB for SW or ML intern. I can join immediately. Okay, cool. I can definitely refer. Uh, Good that someone has good GPA. I'm sure FB would like it. I don't know much about, frankly speaking, India recruitment. So I'm sorry, I'm not going to be that helpful because I don't know their processes, and there could be some differences the way Facebook hires in US versus in India. However, the systems are like, I believe they are integrated, so I can at least officially put you in the system if you want. But I may not be the right person to guide you through the India process. Do ask some folks in India at Facebook if you are really interested to get into Facebook. They might give you more pertinent information, especially for an internship. If for the job, maybe if it was maybe the best guy. If it's an entry level intern or job position, maybe someone closer to your experience level, like 2 or 3 years of experience of just going into Facebook, might be better. I'm afraid of English. Can you please get me what to do? Yeah, I mean, the way I approached English, I mean, I come from Hindi background. I studied till 10th class in a village school. Um, and I think I posted on LinkedIn the other day that, I used to confuse between flash in my first year, and people used to laugh at me. The way I did is that, I mean, learn from folks, right? Like I had a lot of good friends who were very good at English. And I told them, like, keep correcting me, keep making fun of me, So every time I make a mistake, make fun of me. So I learn. I'll correct it next time. I'll feel bad at that time. I'll probably abuse you 1 or 2 good words. That was pretty common in Kanpur. So, but yeah, I'll still learn. So they did that. And yeah, I studied. I I wasn't fully, ready to go for a higher studies or anything. I still signed up for GRE because that gave me some motivation to, improve my vocab. So yeah, that way it helped. Does gap matter in companies? Okay, uh, not much if you defend it correctly and have a genuine reason for it. I don't think it matters much. People look at it more holistically. Uh, I can do the work remotely. Sorry, I didn't get the question. Some level for entry level data analyst. Uh, yeah, I think I've seen this a lot because a lot of people reach out to me who are just in college and they're trying to crack their first job, and it is difficult. I can understand because once you have enough experience and something to show, then you get a lot of opportunities in the field. Recruiters proactively reach out. It is a bit difficult, and I can understand the problem. I don't have like like what do you call like a one solution fit all for everyone. But I would say like even if you get an offer with a slightly bad company and just to put something on the CV, one or two good projects, start with that. And do learn Python. You don't have to waste a lot of money in getting some certificate. I never did, and I don't think maybe it helps. Maybe if you have extra money, no harm in buying those certificates. But I mean, you can find a bunch of free ones as well. And as I said, like just learn Python and SQL. Maybe go to Kaggle and look at their Titanic problem. Uh, that's it. I mean, do that very, very clearly in your head. I mean, bunch of people I hired from Columbia Business Schools here, they have more or less the same CV. They do exact same thing. They learn Python, they learn SQL, they do one or two problems from Kaggle in and out. That's it. That's all is required. And they take all the marks. Like okay, he or she knows Python, SQL. They have done a few problems, so they know how to talk our language. And then of course we conduct interview to make sure that whatever they've written in the CV, that's what they've done and understood the problem in the right sense. And we do check some creativity, like in this data science field, a lot of time you have to be a bit more creative and open-minded. That's it. So how can someone get case study with live data? So actually let me go here. So this is like a life problem that I actually had in my one of my Facebook interviews. Uh, so the interviewer asked that we have a hunch that young people are leaving Facebook because their parents are joining. How do we confirm it? And this is a typical question any business partner would have. This kind of question, like very vague question. Oh, we believe, because of this put this card in competition. That's why MX card is not getting enough traction or losing a good people. How do you go about it? Like, and how do you prove or disprove it? Because basis on that, your next action is derived, right? Like whether you're really losing to competition or it is more like your customer is not happy with your product, or what is the reason. So for in this example, I was asked this question. I took 30 seconds to think about it. Being a FB user, I at least had a broad level of idea what FB has. I'm not an avid user myself. uh, I the way I do it is that every time someone asks you a question, pressure test every single word of it. Like we have a hunch, okay, that young people, okay, who is young people? I asked the guy that, okay, is it fine if I define young people, let's say less than 18? And I presume you guys have age data because I see people posting their happy birthday. So I presume you have a set of a data where people have stated that they are less than 18. And let's assume with that. So we know who are young people. He said, like, yeah, it works. It's a good assumption to have. Start with that. Then I say, okay, now we know young people. Now let's define leaving Facebook. What do you mean by that? Leaving Facebook. So are they like not spending time? Then he said like it's up to you to define. I said okay, fine. So I'll define it in what metrics I'm gonna define later on. Then I said okay, their parents have joined. So how do we define there are parents? Then he said up to you again. So I said okay. If I have to define parents, I need like ground truth, like real data. Like okay, this is a parent, this is a child. So I presume you guys have something. And he said like, yeah, we may have something. Assume we don't. Like, what would you do? So I said like, okay, I'll probably hire a few folks in Gurgaon. I mean, just joking, but like I'll probably hire a few folks to humanly label the data. Like look at bunch of profiles and figure out like, oh yeah, this looks like a mother, this looks like a child, and whatnot. So and that is actually bread and butter. A lot of big companies, they hire human labelers across the globe. A lot of good companies, Accenture and whatnot, are providing those kind of resources. people look at Facebook profiles, or I'm making an example, but for a lot of things, even in my space like use safety, people look at people look at, and they're not like engineers or anything. They're simple, sometimes journalists, sometimes different kind of profiles. They look at information, they actually label whether it's correct or incorrect, and that label actually serves us as a dependent variable in our model, and then we scale from there. So learn this. This is how big companies are working. Good to know that that's how a lot of things are scaling these days. So I said that okay, we can have a human level data, and then we'll model it out for rest of the significant population. So we'll have a good parent young people flag. And he said fine. Any other information on like how would you model that out? So I said yeah. Once we have the label data, maybe we can look at variables like mother father relationship, or mother father's day update, or if you're in close family. I believe I didn't know for sure, but I threw it out. Like I believe Facebook offers something like a close family. I can choose something, so at least from there we can figure out. Or I can look at age difference, like if someone is like 18 and the other person they repeatedly comment on, or the other person comments on their post have like more than 35 years of age, so there's at least a 15-20 years of age difference, and then probably they are parents. It's not gonna be perfect, but it's gonna be good proxy. He said yeah, makes sense. So those two things killed. Third, more important, now that you have confirmed your individual like definitions, now you move to the cohort of comparison. You say okay, now that I know who is a young person, I know who is their parent. Now let's define two groups. First group, where young people's parent have joined, versus other group where young person's parent have not joined. And from that time frame we can have like pre and post, and figure out like okay, once for the group where parents have joined, how their pre and post engagement with Facebook have been. Now the question is again, as I use the word, think about it, like which word I'm using, and then keep defining that. Oh, okay. The next question is how do we define engagement? So that's like it's called defining metrics for comparison. So what do we define? Like the total time spent on Facebook, or number of posts being made, number of likes, what? So again, there is no right answer. Depending on your business context, you should come up with one or two ideas, throw it out to the interviewer, and tell them that this is what the best I can think of. When I was defining this, it just came to me that okay, maybe I'll use total time spent on Facebook. Maybe before they were spending 30 minutes, now they're spending just 15 minutes. But maybe they've shifted to Instagram. Instagram is also your company. So I would rather, instead of defining time spent on Facebook, I'll define time spent on Facebook, family of companies. He actually probably liked that because I was thinking broadly in ecosystem manner. So that worked. And that's it. I defined everything, and I said, yeah, I'll test it out for a small sample. If it works, then your theory would be proven or disproven. So I didn't give him a right answer, like okay, is it true or not true, because I don't have the data. I'm just going to define it for him that this is how I will operate, and that's it. It got me a good job. So okay, hopefully that serves as a case study with live data. I can give one more example if you guys want. Like in Best to Credit, I was actually given hard data. Like they provided an Excel with like hard data of all the loans history and whatnot. But given my own experience of playing with such data, it was comparatively easy, and I had to build a NLP model based on bank statement and whatnot. So yeah, depending on the company, they might ask you different kind of a problem. So be ready for it. How can someone get his first job in US, UK if not placed through IIT? I mean, in my case, I started in Gurgaon. I stayed there almost 5 years, probably a bit late because at that time I wanted to stay in India, so I skipped on a couple of opportunities. And then when I wanted to come, then my visa got rejected and whatnot. Bunch of stories around that. But very few people would be actually, getting a US or UK job from IIT Kanpur. Let's be open with it. Maybe some, good 9-pointers, 10-pointers, or some lucky ones from, good departments might get it. Don't get disheartened. It's not that tough to move out of India. I know US has its own set of immigration challenges, but there are a bunch of other countries who need, right talent. So, and just join a decent company, start with, focus on your career. Things will fall into place. If not first year, second year, third year, have a slightly larger time window, and things would come. Like don't I know everyone wants to be a bachelor in New York City and try to things try things out. I would say things are possible. Just join a right company 2 3 years down the line, or maybe 1 year down the line, depending on the company, depending on the supply and demand, you could get here. So don't get disheartened if you're not getting that first job in US UK right there. It's okay. You'll get it if you really want it. You guys are from IIT. I don't think you'll have a dearth of opportunities in that sense. Uh, so how can we improve our storytelling skills? Amazing question. uh, I would say again, improve. Keep telling stories to friends, because storytelling is one of the essential skill to be to being a data scientist. You have some many a times data actually doesn't tell you the definite answer, right? So you have to pick the directional clues and paint a story, and then somehow come up with a suggestion for your partner. Like broadly speaking, this is how what we see, and this is how we should be interpreting it. So I guess, just argue with each, with, in your close friend of circles on different topics. Like, you see on news, like, oh, this thing happened, any news item, you see, and then argue the pros and cons. That way, you'll be able to articulate your thoughts, think of different scenarios, and then trying to convince, the other person to get into. So I think that argumentative mode is important, and don't run away from arguments, but don't get too stretched into like unnecessary political arguments on Facebook. Don't do that. But like with your close friends, get involved in like this argumentative discussion where you have like your point of view, their point of view, and then trying to rationally argue around it. So that might help your storytelling skills. uh, is money the right motivation to pursue this field? uh, uh, Tricky question. I mean, if you really want big money, then probably go and have a startup. I mean, that's where probably in a longer term horizon, that's where you're gonna earn probably the most bucks. I am personally happy with the money I made so far in 10, 12 years. Uh, I mean, yes, money is good, but money you can earn in different fields also. I personally had slight inclination towards data, and once I got into it, I liked it more. So even if you have money as the right motivation, it's not a wrong motivation. So I would err on the side of saying, yeah, if money is the right motivation. Yeah, you can choose money as a motivation, at least initially when nothing else clicks in. Once you are into the field, maybe a year, 2 years down the line, something else may attract you, which is fine. But for now, if nothing comes to mind, go with money. Don't fall into that trap. Oh, don't go here for that money and only that. Don't go into that trap. If nothing, money is a loose indicator of success. So go with that initially. Of course, in my own career, initially I've gone with money, but many times I have left. In fact, a couple of years back in Amex, I left a job. I was offered almost 2.5 to 3 times salary. I'm not even making that much even today with Facebook. That kind of a salary in a fintech. I was asked to lead their risk management division, but the job was in Mexico City, and I had to fly there every couple of weeks from New York. So, and I was like, okay, it's 3 times, 2.5, 3 times the salary, and then the equity would have made it like like I would be making probably a couple of $1 million in a year or 2 years down the line. I'm like, okay, that would be awesome, but I have to fly every other week, to handle a team in Mexico City. Maybe I'm not cut for that. I'm okay with earning a bit less. That's fine. So I skipped that offer. I didn't join, and I'm happy with that. Okay, I didn't take the plunge. I'm happy. I'm settled. I'm sufficient. But at the same time, I once skipped an offer from eBay or PayPal now, like early in the career, because that time they were offering me good money, but for whatever whimsical reason, I thought like, no, I want to continue in financial analytics, not in like like search analytics and whatnot. I skipped that offer, and I later regretted it, because that field grew much better, and I would have achieved a few milestones earlier in my career if I would have been in PayPal at that time. And I just don't know why I didn't take that offer, and I still regret it. So yeah, sometimes, yeah, I've left money. Sometimes I've been happy that I left it. Sometimes I've regretted like I left it. But most other times I have followed the money. And broadly, again, a mixed story. Most of the time I have been happier. Sometimes I did feel like, oh my God, just for this minor increment, I've got myself into a job which is asking me to work for 12 hours instead of 8 hours. So not worth it. But sooner or later, I went out of those rules. So that's how I went ahead. Again, things can work differently for different people. Uh, Good question. How is Instagram tackling racism? I'm not privy to reveal a lot of information, but I can tell you, like people like me, people in my team are working on these problems. On people I know personally who live nearby, they are working on these problems. Uh, you can always say like Instagram is doing enough, not doing enough, but I can tell you, people are doing their best to handle it. That's all I can say. Uh, how much DSA is important for data science? I mean, it is important. Just do the basics. Yeah, Apple implementing CSAM. I don't want to. Very. Oh my God, who asked this? I'm intrigued. Saqib Mohammed regarding Apple is okay. This is one of the burning question I have in my head. This is the burning. This is probably gonna define my work for next 9 months. I can't reveal much information, maybe on a personal note if you connect with me later on. But yes, it is a very difficult act to balance privacy and youth safety. It's gonna give me nightmares for next 6 months, but hopefully I'll do something better for the world. I'll figure out something. Yeah, how to practice case studies and some more resources. I mean, I'm sure like your outreach people or placement people have more knowledge on this than me, so I'll skip this. Do companies prefer PhD guys? They do take PhD guys at a slightly higher level. I wouldn't say they prefer per se, but of course, if you are coming with a PhD, you will get hired at a next level. But if you think that you want to pursue PhD so that you can be hired at a next level, don't do that. If you are convinced that you want to get into the industry and you're convinced that the level of information and knowledge you have is good enough, get into the industry. Even with a bachelor, 3-4 years you'll reach a level where a PhD person is going to join at. So, and most likely, if you're working good, then you're probably going to be hiring a PhD by the time the PhD completes. So, I mean, yeah, that's what I did. Like by the time I was 28, 29, I was hiring PhDs under my team. So, yeah, I mean, and they were, most of them were like, just probably by batchmates or, doing their PhD. So again, nothing against PhD. If you're for it, go ahead. I was not, and I felt like I got this great advice from my own professor who I worked my MTech project on, that don't do PhD if you want to go to industry, because that's what is going to play out, and he was right. So MS PhD for career in data science. I would say MS might work. MS is like less of an opportunity cost. So maybe yes, if you're not able to break into right company, good thing, and it's not working out. I was initially against MS also, but I've seen in a lot of cases that again, my data science experimental mind, that I've seen a lot of cases where they've done the MS, invested some money there, didn't done for a couple of years, but eventually actually cracked a much better job than where they were. So yes, in my mind, PhD no, MS yes, it may work out for some people. If you are not able to get good thing to start with, then probably think for MS. It might give you good start. Uh, okay, a long question, but the crux is that how much technical skills are required. I think for entry level jobs, not much, unless you're really giving like a ML machine learning role in a tower research capital, or like some kind of that company where they're actually looking for that profile. Other than that, for probably 90% of the people on this call, I don't think this will be important. 95 maybe, yeah. Uh, yeah, sorry, I can't help you with this one. Uh, should we definitely take a modeling role? Wow, this is a very good question. MX divides it between strategy and modeling. Personally, I was in strategy for first 5 years, or maybe 6 years. I moved to kind of a modeling role in last 3-4 years. It helped me because it expanded my horizon or thinking. But I realized like it's not really difficult the way they made it sound. Once I started building a few ML models, and then I realized, wow, they started considering me as the best modeler in a couple of years. While I used to have like, oh, this guy is like some great guy, and his models are great. And then I just started like with a couple of models, and then I was the next blue-eyed guy in the whole Amex world I worked in. I'm like, oh, it's not that difficult. You just get into it. I think it's good to get into it. Good to learn both sides. So if you are into a strategy team, work for a year or two, but then try to have both side of experience. I've seen other side also, like a lot of modeling people. They're having a gala time right now because a lot of companies are actually asking for modeling skills. So they're having a good time. But they also lack, bit of a strategic understanding, like why they're building a particular model. And that might hurt them to crack into a company like Facebook, where you need kind of mix of both. So do have a mix of both as you grow in your career. You don't have to do everything in the same job. You can do like 1.5 year, 2 years, one type of work, and then couple of years other type of work. And then yeah, that's all. I don't know much about actual science except that one of my ex-girlfriend was doing some actual courses. So sorry for that. I don't know much. Uh, how can we define the work-life balance and pay scale matrix? So amazing. I don't have the right answer to it. Everyone will have their own um, metrics. The way I define it, like whenever it's too much, I kind of figure out like, okay, it's not working out for me. I don't like this kind of work-life balance. I'm okay to, for example, last year I left Amex. I was earning and not great as now, but like still handsomely. But let's assume a number. Let's say I was earning $200. I was ready to even leave MX at that point because the work-life balance was so screwed up, and I was ready to even go to a job which was gonna pay me $100, like half of it, because I realized like my expenses are limited. Like 100 is good for me. I'm earning probably 1.8 or 2, but like I'll probably go for a $100 job, and I'll be okay with that. So it again depends on the context. So again, sorry, not a great answer, I know, but like you have to figure out your own what kind of money you're comfortable with. Even when I was young, like 23, 24, maybe a year, 2 years down the line from college, even at that point, I started realizing the value of work-life balance. So I skipped on a few good offers from a few investment banks, but I'm happy with that. Like I didn't want to ever work for 16 hours or 20 hours, except maybe a few days when you have to, even in a decent company, because sometimes it is required, and that is understood. Like once in a month or whatnot, that is survivable. But if it happens too repeatedly for too long, you're gonna burn out your health. You're gonna burn out your mental peace. You should ask yourself, like, and everyone may have a different capacity. You ask yourself, like, are you able to poop properly next morning because of the lack of sleep? That is important, guys. Like yeah, money is important, but like food, health, those things are more important. So I mean, I want my own piece of 15, 20 minutes of workout in the morning, and then so all those things are important to me. So sorry, no definite metric, but figure out for yourself what is the balance you want to. If you feel like, yeah, I'm getting more efficient at my work, I can get better paid at somewhere else, but I'll be working the same hours. Okay, change the job, go somewhere else. Then that's it. Uh, you face during your first job and how you face that problem. I mean, it's a bit of a vague question. I don't remember which kind of problem. There are so many problems in the first job, but like generally speaking, my first job was with a lot of IIT seniors. It was comparatively easy. They helped me out, so not much I remember. Uh, with CPI 6.5 after 6 semesters. Oh wow, you have 6.5. I had 6.1. Yeah, do foreign university take the folks? Uh, don't write CPI in your resume if that's what you're worried about. Unless they specifically ask, then you're doomed. Maybe you have to give justification, and you are lucky, then you can crack it. But predominantly, like at least I know, at least from my times, the world has evolved, and it has started to give lesser and lesser weightage to particular CPI, but more to your story and the way you have grown. It also depends, like that 6.5, is it going down, going up, and whatnot. So um, frame your own story, take some help from, I don't know who, but take some help, get some help from seniors predominantly who have done it even with a lesser CPI. If they have cracked MBA schools, talk to those seniors, how did they do it. They might give you the better suggestion. I did try for GMAT once. I got 710 in my first attempt, but for some reason I still felt like I'm not ready to spend so much of money to get an MBA. While I could move to US within the same company, and I probably earn more. So I took that path instead of doing MBA. So if you ask me again, like MS, MBA, PhD, I would say MS because it takes less money. It's probably worth it. MBA, assuming it takes probably I don't know, maybe 1 CR cost, maybe. I don't know how much is the ROI. So at the end of the day, you have to calculate your ROI, and in my mind, MS still works out. MBA and PhD are slightly overrated, guys. Like, I don't know. It's me. I have worked with, so my previous boss in Amex have one guy have been IIT Kanpur Y1 grad. He was he was just a BTech Y1 batch, and he had been working all his life, and he was my boss. Uh, some reorg happened. I got assigned to another boss. She was also Y1 grad, IIT Kanpur. I was so lucky to have consecutive two bosses from IIT Kanpur. So lucky. It doesn't happen often. She was Y1 grad IIT Kanpur. She worked for BCG, Bain, and whatnot, and then went to Harvard. So what I'm trying to say, like both people Y1 batch at the same exact level, earning more or less exact the same salary. One was from IIT plus Harvard. One was just directly from BTech from IIT, nothing else. So people have different journey. They reach to the similar level. Your choice, which one you want to take. I have nothing against either of them. Both of them by now have it's very hard to differentiate between the two to say that the Harvard one has a more polished way of saying things. No, it's not anymore. Even the non-Harvard one can speak better. So it takes just some time to learn those things, whether you pay for it and then learn it properly, or don't pay for it and learn through the job, your call. Oh my gosh, this Saqib guy is asking very, very tough questions, man. I mean, I don't know. I do have startup dreams of my own. I don't know much, but it's very difficult. Sorry, I'm going to skip it and maybe take it to one-on-one. You should connect with me, Saqib. So, so many questions I answered. Like, should we take a break? Anything else, or like any live questions? I don't know. Like, I'm just rumbling here.
Yeah, so we can take up some questions sent to us before the session. And
Yeah.
apart from that, if anyone wants to have direct interaction with you, they can raise their hands and we'll unmute you.
All right, let's do that. I'll skip them reading this chat. Let's do, and I know you sent a lot of good questions to me. Sorry, I haven't got a chance to go through them. Probably some of them I already answered, some of them I didn't. So you guys tell me, how do you want to use your best of your next few minutes or whatever time we have?
Yes, I guess Prakansh has his hand raised.
Okay.
If the host can unmute them.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, Rajul. So I had, I think, two questions. One question was kind of related to the case study, so I'll ask that first. The case study which you just saw, like, showed us, like Facebook one. Yeah. So in this, there's the B cohort that you have made, that parents whose young people whose parents didn't join. So isn't that more of a lack of data than uh, actual data to support that? Like, we don't know whose parents didn't join, right? It's just that we didn't label them, or maybe something like that.
Yes.
So how does one go through this?
Right. Good point. Good question. I would say it this way. Yes, it is important to understand that this could be a problem with our framework. That it may not be very precise, and the most we could use some guardrails, even if, let's say, people who, friends who have more than X years of age for this particular cohort have joined. Let's remove them out. So you can always clean your data. So creating a B cohort, you don't have to use everything else where you are not able to label. You can actually clean that data a bit. But again, the good thing I did, and probably better than other candidates, is that that was not the question that interviewer was asking. So I skipped it by simply saying at a high level that I'll start with whatever I have, and I'll randomly pick 10% of, because I'm sure I'll not be able to label the most of the data. So my A group is going to be small group where I'm able to label. My B group could be just a random sample, like 1% of sample of the remaining population, to make more both A and B population more or less equal size. And I can put some guardrails around it so that A and B actually look similar in terms of attributes, and the only difference between them is, like, their parents haven't joined, and I'll put some guardrails around it. I did not go into the details deliberately, and that is the trap you want to avoid. because that is not the question they're asking. They are more concerned in the engagement part of it. They are less concerned about how accurate is your measurement of young to parent relationship. If that would have been the question, yes, I would have spent my precious 5-10 minutes of interview on that. That was not the question. I skipped it. That's what made me, that's why probably they made the offer. And I know a lot of my colleagues, at least couple of them who shared similar question and similar type of problem, they actually went into those minor details too deep, and they couldn't crack it because interviewer was not even asking for it. He was, or she was okay with you saying a high level, understanding of your, you recognize the problem like that. Yeah, I understand it, but that's not my focus. I'll keep it at it. I'll move ahead. That is very, very important in data science. So don't fall into the trap of accuracy. It may be you have to at times, balance your accuracy with your, expedition or like time.
Okay. And my second question was more about the. So I'm currently pursuing a data engineering internship, but like, what's the differences and how does it compare in terms of data science in, like, in India or in US, whichever region you would
I
be
mean,
able to.
the companies I work with, I don't think there's a huge difference between US and India kind of a thing. More or less, MNCs have more or less all type of profiles available. However, in terms of data engineering, I mean, again, as far as I've worked, it's also similarly rewarding field. A lot of innovations going on there. So again, I wouldn't say the career graph or anything would be very different from a data scientist because a lot of demand is there for data engineers. And more Facebook.
Guys, is it just me who's facing
No, no. I think sir is facing a little bit of lag.
Yeah, am I back now? I think
Yes,
so.
sir.
Yeah.
So I was sorry, just to finish your question, I would say if you like the data engineering work, go continue with it. And it's not like very hard Chinese balls. You can always move more towards a science, so more of a science profile versus more of a business profile, more of a technical profile. Your call. Start with something, whatever you're doing. Good. Start with that. Do that internship. Learn what you're doing. Do make sure that whatever the next guy is sitting to you now you don't have a physical office most likely. So whoever is the next person is sitting to you, what are they doing? Do talk about that over coffee. So that helps a lot because when I was in a strategy team in Amex, I was doing line management. I was deciding how much money to give, but guy sitting beside me was in a different team. He was working on a model which was actually predicting, how much spend someone is going to do. And out of curiosity, we used to learn about each other's work. And later on in life, when I got a bit senior, I knew exactly how he's working on his part of things. So even when I did not build a model myself, I knew high level details that I could easily pass through in an interview. So do learn from your colleagues, like what they are doing, because you will not be able to do everything, but you can always learn from them. That's how you can grow your knowledge. Okay.
And so the switch from data engineering and data science isn't that much of a black or white, right? It's more of a gray area. It's easily switchable, right?
Many times data engineers also work as, not everyone, whoever has the, they do work as a data scientist for a year or two, and they always go back to data engineering and vice versa, depending on what you want. So it's not like very hard boundaries, as I said, like, it's a spectrum. You can put the boundaries and, because it's your profile may have like higher percentage of a particular type of problem or particular type of job, but it's a big spectrum out there. And depending on the company also, you may be asked, even when your title is a data scientist, you may be asked to build a pipeline, which is technically data engineer's job. But even that company CEO might not know, like, he might say, oh, I hired you for data, you do everything. So that may happen. Okay.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Any other questions, or you want me to go to that Google Doc that you guys send me and any remaining questions there? I can do
No,
anything.
no, we
I
have
have to
covered
wait
most of
and
the
yeah.
questions. I think
Okay.
Siddharth has raised his hand for quite a long
Yeah.
time.
Hi, Rajal, I'm Siddharth. I had a question that getting an entry into a company like Facebook is like everyone's dream, but people struggle to get a job
Is
there.
it
So,
mine? Sorry, you
uh,
break up. You broke up with that. So could you?
yeah, should I repeat? Yeah, should I repeat?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So, getting an entry into a company like Facebook is everyone's dream, but people struggle to find a job there. So, how do the opportunities in the data science role compare to other roles, and is the scope of data science rising rapidly in leading global companies?
Yeah. Second part of your question, it is a golden time to be in data science. It's rising beyond your imagination, and it will rise at least for next few years. So that's sorted. Like, you don't even think twice. It's rising like anything. Um, First question: even companies like Facebook are struggling to get good candidates. Even today, I mean, I've been, I mean, so much so that they are asking me. I actually skipped part of my journey. I actually took an individual contributor role here rather than leading teams, because I've been leading teams for quite a while, and I thought, like, I'm moving to a different industry. I wanted to start slightly from scratch, as far as I'm making the same amount of money that I deserve, but I took a different field. And they are actually asking me, like, oh, go ahead, you have leadership experience, go hire more people for us, and do a lot about it. I'm not. I have to do some trainings to actually be officially representing FB. I haven't done that, so I'm not officially representing them. But I can tell you, big companies are hiring the right candidates left, right, and center. So just get into the game wherever you can start. Give it a year or two, learn all the right skills. And as I said, SQL, Python, framing of the problem, the kind of the way I structured that experimentation problem, because a lot of big companies, they are big into experimentation. That's where the big value of a data scientist is. Like, how would you measure anything, or how would you analyze, like, how would you experiment? Because anything, the CEO might say something, the CTO might say something, the CRO might say something. Who is right? You have to experiment and then prove, like, okay, this one is right. So you have to define the experiment. That's the main job for data scientist. Do that. Bunch of companies are like, I know, I mean, I see your struggle that it's difficult to get into a good company like Google or Facebook. I see the other side of the struggle. These recruiters are over my head, like, okay, we can't find good candidates. Can you refer someone? Can you, but many times there is a gap in, what they are looking for versus what people have. And that's why I'm telling you, like, what they're looking for. They're looking for basic things. SQL, Python, the Columbia example I gave, right? Do these basic things. Learn SQL, learn Python, do a couple of Kaggle problems. More or less, you are in the zone. After that, you're up to you. You want to build high level models and whatnot, up to you. At least do that. Then you'll be, and then do update your LinkedIn. Like, those basic hygiene I didn't talk about, but you should just do it. Like, it's no brainer. Like, always update your LinkedIn. Reach out to recruiters yourself if they are not reaching out to you. Do reach out to your seniors. Don't spam too much, but yeah, do reach out to your networks. They may help. Uh, but yeah, initially, do reach out to recruiters more, because it's their job, so they might be able to help you better.
Yeah, I'll surely do that. Thank you.
Anyone else? Or
Yeah, I guess Tushar has his hand raised.
Hello, sir. I'm Tushar. Sir, as you told us about the knowledge of data science in the roles like product analyst, risk management, and strategy management, sir, but is it easy to switch from one role to another?
it is not that difficult, I would say. And I mean, with the because you translate your skills, it's our transferable skills. So as far as you're open to it, I've seen a lot of people not able to switch because I think they are blocked by their own limitations. They feel like, oh, I've done risk management, I don't know nothing about marketing, I'll fail at that job, so let me not apply, let me not even talk to that boss who's hiring, or let me not do anything about it. So a lot of people do that. Don't do that in your career. Remember this advice. Like, I had the same, fear. Like, when I started with risk management for long, and I felt like, oh my God, I might know nothing about marketing. I might know nothing about product. But at some point I realized, like, okay, this guy changed, that guy changed. They're doing okay. I can do that. Let me talk to this new manager. And many times in big companies, your reputation follows you. So even if you have zero idea of marketing science or model building, but they know that you have been a good performer, you're doing your job well, they will give you a chance more often than you can imagine. And 6 months down the line, a year down the line, you'll be probably the best marketer there. So it's fairly comparatively easier to switch than ever before. So I switched from risk management to marketing and then product. And actually, maybe the product analytics role at MX helped me secure a job with Facebook, because my profile started reading like product data scientist or like director of product. So probably that's where the product in Facebook might have searched the keyword, the recruiter, and then they reached out. And I know for a fact that Facebook recruiters, they were maxing out from hiring from the tech industry, so they were looking out for other industries where there are transferable skills. So yeah, it is possible. It's not that difficult. You can do it.
Thank you, sir.
So I guess most of the questions from the doc has been answered till now. If anyone has any other question, they can raise their hand, else we can end the session now.
If you don't mind, I'll just ask another question. This is Prakash. You mentioned that you were the director of product data science, right? Yeah. So there would be directors or there would be partners at AMX where people would be more inclined towards the strategy side of things and actually making the decisions. So how is the switch from like a pure tech role as yours to a more strategy side and the actual decision making side? Like how is that switch possible?
So,
is it possible at all?
sorry, just to understand the question properly, which switch you're talking about, like from Amex to Facebook or within Amex?
No,
like
no, no, no. So like you didn't make that switch. I'm just asking like what so like you were in a proper data science role and you were a director, so there would be directors of other the strategy side of things and the operation side of things.
Yeah.
So is it possible to switch at that stage at like 10 years 12 years into the career? Like how does one make that switch, because you have specialized in one certain field so much that you may not be aware of the other side, right?
So I see your point. So if you want, like, okay, I was the director of product analytics at Amex, and then let's say I meet with like director of sales or director of operations or director of marketing. Those are the people I used to work with. In fact, there was a director of product first, and not analytics, like just the product. They used to own the product P&L. I would say once you are a data guy, people do make the switch. Sometimes I have seen people, switching, just shutting off their data thingy and moving to a hardcore marketer role or hardcore product management role. I've seen that even in Facebook. I've noticed a lot of product managers here. They do have a data background. They join as a data scientist in their days, but then eventually move to product management because that's what appeals them more. Product management has less to do with the data. You would rather be the center of, like, it's more of a coordinating job, and then well, it requires a lot of vision and planning. And then you have a data scientist in your team which is going to guide you from data perspective. It's a bit difficult. I get your point, like especially at a senior level, it is not that easy, but not unheard of as well. Like, sometimes people do make it. I've heard people like, one of the analytics people or data science people in Amex who actually left that part and, moved to hardcore product. So product is not like product analytics. It's like, you are owning the P&L. You are like, again, product manager kind of a role. So people do switch. It's a bit difficult, but it happens 1 in 10 times. Even recently, one of my EXL colleague, like, he's in VP or something in Amex now. He wanted to switch to Facebook, but not as a data scientist, because he was doing a data science or whatever analytics role in Amex, but he wanted to actually switch as a PM. Sadly for him, Facebook didn't, consider his CV for PM. I'm sure if he would have applied for a data science manager or DS kind of a role, Facebook must have, interviewed him and hired him. He's a great chap, a lot of good experience there, 10 years of experience in that field. But he was trying to make a switch to PM level and he faced a struggle. Maybe the right strategy for him would be to do more PM-ish role at Amex first, maybe for a year or so, and then try again in some tech company to be a PM. That might be a better call for him. That's what probably he's doing. But yeah, so you have to figure out your way. It is possible, but if you're really convinced that you can carve out your own role in such a way that there is a connection, and then you can convince the recruiter and the next job you're going that yes, you want to do this and you are kind of made up for it. So yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for answering these so many questions. So is there anything you would like to say as we end this session?
Thanks a lot, guys. I know I bored you a lot. Hopefully
No,
you
sir,
learned
you
something.
did
And,
not, sir.
I just wanted to make it more fun, but I know I couldn't. Maybe you should follow my Instagram. I know it's private right now, but that's where I post sometimes my dance videos. I still dance, and I think I dance well. So that's probably more fun. But anyways, jokes apart, I think you are in. I mean, I'm so happy and privileged to talk to you guys because I've been speaking in multiple forums lately. I started this journey of motivating youth and not for financial benefits, at least not that's my expectation. If it comes through it, I'm fine. But like more because I really felt motivated myself throughout the journey by connecting to different people. And last few years, I actually helped a few folks back in India and in here as well to just motivate them and pursue their dreams. And I just felt that calling that okay, I helped this person, and a few folks then told me like you are a good storyteller. The way you communicate and tell your story. I always I'm not gonna have the right answer to you, but I can probably find a relatable story in my or my friends' lives, and probably that can help you. So that's how I operate. And then I got encouraged by a lot of folks that you should share it widely. I started sharing. I got a lot of interviews coming up. I'm speaking to a bunch of universities now. I spoke to University of North Carolina. Next week I have an interview with some Australian university. But this is the best platform I like because I can relate to you guys so much. You're from my own college. You're like my bachas, so I like it so much. And the kind of questions I got, I was so impressed. My gosh, like whoever prepared this, I don't know, Prakhar or Sanskar, whoever did this, like the questions, I was so amazed that there is a reason why you guys are in IIT. So yeah, do use that. Do use that network. Do use that understanding. Do use that the knowledge you are getting, at IIT, the kind of information you're getting. It's not easy for outside world. So use that. Yeah, cool.
Sir, can you drop your Insta handle so we can watch your enthusiastic videos?
Sure. It's I have to make sure it's not. I'll probably make it public for a while. It's Rajal J, Rajil J. So
Okay.
yeah, maybe you can watch. I'm not a regular poster there, but I just felt like maybe I should post out a few things more regularly. But
we would love to see you back in IIT Club.
Oh, I actually was, planning to search. I used to have a YouTube video because we won that Antaragni competition. We danced on that song like Dawn. I'm forgetting the number, but yeah, there was a good number from Dawn, and we won the Antaragni dance competition. So I wanted to find the YouTube video for whatever reason I couldn't find it in the morning. Maybe I'll ask my old friends who still have it. So cool. All right.
Thank you so much,
Thank
sir,
you,
for
guys.
this interactive session. With this, we have come to the end of this informative session. We would like to thank Mr. Rajal Jain for his precious time and each of you present here. The outreach cell will be conducting many more sessions in the future. Please keep checking your mailboxes for further updates. Also, do follow outreach on Facebook and LinkedIn. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you so much, sir.
Bye.